Hello, Shemai. Welcome to my wild Welsh garden. I'm in my greenhouse today because it's very wet. It's rained a lot the last few days. All the lovely frost has gone and the garden is a horrible soggy mess. Yes, it's been a very strange year this year because I'm not doing any gardening. I'm just making videos about how I'm not doing any gardening, which is it's a bit weird. But I'm doing a good job of just leaving everything alone, and I'm trying not to look at the garden as a horrible soggy mess, but as a place of great potential for next year, full of creatures and plants and wildflowers and all good things that are going to repopulate the garden in the spring. But one of the things that I have always done at this time of year is to sort of take advantage of pruning the evergreen shrubs to take greenery into my cottage for Christmas. And I'm going to do that again. I know I said I was going to leave everything alone, but when I thought about it, in a natural ecosystem, things aren't left alone because the large herbivores and the wild boar are busy pruning and digging all winter, really. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to be a herbivore and prune my evergreens and take some nice things into the cottage for Christmas. And I'm going to get creative. So the first thing I'm going to create is a table decoration. So for that, I just need little bits of things, really. So some of the things from the garden and some of the things that I've picked up on my walks around the place. Along the wall at the side of the shed here, there's a fabulous Boston ivy that goes such beautiful colours of brown and red in the autumn. But now all that's left is the stems. I don't know what you call them, stems or vines. These long things that are nice and bendy, so very good to make wreaths out of. So then I have this shrub on the back wall. This was here when I came. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but I think it's a euonymus, and it's quite pretty, so I can take a few little sprigs of that. Then down just outside my back door, there's this prostrate rosemary, which is trying to take over the world. Every year I prune it quite hard, and it grows again like that, so that can happily lose quite a few branches, I think. And then I've got all these azaleas, and I can take a few sprigs of those as well. So here's the bits and pieces that I've put together. This is just a candle from Home Bargains, I think, on a piece of wood that came with a wood delivery, and I just thought it was rather attractive. The vine of the Boston ivy that I pruned off, I've just twirled into a wreath shape, which goes over there. And then here I've got some moss, some of which is on logs that I've picked up on my walks. Some of it I've just pulled. Whoops, it's gone on the floor. Some of it I've just pulled out of the lawn. And then this is this fabulous lichen on little bits of branches and twigs that I've picked up on my walks. Because when we have high winds and storms, a lot of it blows off on the paths, and I think, well, if it's on the path, I can pick it up. And I think these are larch cones. So they're the foraged bits, and then I've got the euonymus, a few twigs of euonymus, a few sprigs of azalea, a couple of rose hips, although, to be honest, I don't think they're going to last until Christmas. They'll probably go brown and horrible, and I'll have to take them out. There's some thyme, some rosemary, and tiny little bit of lavender. And the nice thing about doing creative things with herbs is it just smells so lovely. So what I'm going to do, is put the moss around the candle and the lichen twigs, and then stick all those little bits in and hopefully make it look pretty. So there's the finished table decoration. I'm quite happy with that, really. Looks quite nice, isn't it? It's apple and cinnamon, apparently. So that should smell nice. And then I have one that I made earlier. And this has got opium poppy heads in that I dried off in the summer. So, yeah. Oh, and that one is clean linen, I believe. So they should smell nice. So there they are, finished and alight and making the greenhouse smell lovely. So it was a nice cheery thing to do on a horrible, wet and miserable morning. So that's the table decorations done, and if that was mimicking a herbivore, then it was a very small herbivore nibbling very daintily at a few shrubs and a few herbs. If I'm going to mimic a large herbivore, then I really do need to kind of trample a few bushes and drag off a few branches, which I'm not going to do, not today anyway. But I'm going to prune enough to take into the cottage to sort of make everywhere nice and green for Christmas. So that's what I'm going to do next. This is my little patch of ivy that is growing at the side of the summer house. But you know, I don't think I want to cut anything off that because it's not exactly huge. And I want it to grow bigger and provide lots of hiding places and nesting sites for birds and lots of food for pollinators in the autumn. So I'm going to leave that and I'm going to go and forage some ivy from the woods, because I do have to say there's one thing that we're not short of up here is ivy. And then this is my holly and next door a camellia. I didn't plant these were here when I came and they've both grown a lot bigger. But every year I do chomp them back a bit, so I'll take a few branches off those too. And then here is the eucalyptus. Now I'm going to have to cut this down every year because they do grow up to 60 foot, I believe. So probably not the best choice of tree to plant right next to the house. And it's very fast growing. I cut it down to about 6 foot last winter, and so it must have put on 6 foot of growth during the summer. So I'm going to take a couple of branches right off at the trunk. And now I have a pile of foliage on the kitchen floor, and the foliage here is the holly and the eucalyptus. And I have a pile of foliage on the sitting room floor. This is the ivy that I foraged from the woods. That is the camellia, which is from the garden. And this is some branches of, I think it's larch. If I'm up the creek, please tell me. I've put some of the eucalyptus in with the larch in an old stoneware jar. And I'm just going to add a bit of the holly and the ivy and see what that looks like. So there you are, the finished arrangement. I wouldn't say it was an arrangement. I just sort of shoved it all in the jar, but there it is, looking nice and green. And there it is with the light switched on. Looking very Christmassy. And the next thing is to put some of that up onto the mantelpiece. And look what's just dropped out of the ivy. I wonder what it is. Is it a moth or a fly of some sort? So I'm going to go and put it on the ivy outside. And it can either be food for a hungry bird, or it can survive the winter and help repopulate the garden next year. My trouble is I always want to put too much on, so I have to restrain myself and just leave it at that. There it is, finished. I've also added some pine cones and some Christmas tree decorations just to make it look a bit more festive. And I've also put some greenery in another earthenware pot and also some in an old chamber pot. My grandmother used to call it a gazunder because it goes under the bed. So everywhere's looking nice and green. And now with the lights on, well, that certainly brightens the place up. Thanks for watching the video, and thanks for watching the channel, for liking and subscribing. I only started the channel in September, and I've really had great fun making the videos, and I've loved reading all your comments that you've given me. It makes such a difference to know that you actually enjoy looking at my garden, but also that I might have inspired a few people to be a bit wilder in their gardens, because that's what the channel is all about. It's about sort of getting the word out there that our gardens are so important for increasing biodiversity and for nature recovery. Well, I may well not get out in the garden next week. I was intending to do a sort of December Christmas kind of garden tour, but to be honest, the weather forecast is so awful. It may well not happen. So it just remains for me to say Nadolig Llawen, Merry Christmas, Blwyddyn Newydd Dda, Happy New Year, and I'll see you soon for the next exciting instalment on my wild Welsh gardening adventure. So hopefully lots of exciting things to do and to see going on in my wild Welsh garden. So cheers, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Hwyl fawr.